I'm Dr. Ruthie, or Dr. Ruth Newstifter if you want to be formal. I'm a professional sexuality educator, and I blog over at exploringintimacy.com. I'm also the author of The Nice Girl's Guide to Talking Dirty, but today I'm here answering your kinky questions on sex and relationships thanks to the great folks at funwares.com. If you would like to send me a question, I hope that you do. I answer as many as I can each month. You can write to me at AskDrRuthie, AskDrRuthie at funwares.com, or you can tweet me at Dr. Ruthie, DrRuthie. I have a question that very much resembles a popular question that is asked to me in workshops. It's come in by email this time, and I am glad to answer it. This one is sent by Harry. Hi, I want your help. I'm a 34-year-old happily married guy. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking of having sex with my wife and another woman, possibly one we know. We have discussed it many times. My wife is kind of accepting, but she is hesitant. My objective is to provide my wife an intense sexual treat and watch her moaning with another lady. She admitted that she has had lesbian acts twice when she was younger. She is now 28. I also dream of doing her anally while another lady is licking her pussy. I'm confused. Is this normal? Should I get some help? I try to get rid of these kind of thoughts, but it keeps coming. Please help. Harry, the first thing I want you to know is that your fantasies are very, very normal. My guess is that you've probably even looked up two-girl threesomes on the internet and seen that there's a lot of porn out there and there's a lot of people talking about it. That is a little bit of evidence for you, anecdotal evidence that it's extremely popular and common. There's nothing wrong with fantasies at all. The only time fantasies are a problem is when it's a fantasy of something that's unrealistic and could be harmful, and we start to lose the distinction between realism and fantasy, right? So a lot of people will have fantasies about being raped or things like that, but like the fantasy they're having about rape is really more about ravishment. It's about somebody who's so attracted to them that they can't stop themselves from pleasuring them, which of course we know is not like real life rape at all. But you know, people will be really troubled by those fantasies. There's nothing wrong with that fantasy. You're not out trolling in an alley trying to get attacked. It's just something you're imagining to yourself to get off with, and you have a rich fantasy life. That's great. So with your fantasy about having two women, again, very common. Multiple partners is a very common fantasy for both men and women, regardless of sexual orientation. So you're right in there in the statistical normal. So congratulations, you are just fine. Of course, if somebody doesn't have this fantasy, that's okay too. You know, we're diverse. If we all had the same fantasies, it would be kind of boring, and we would have nothing new to discover with each other, and that would be sad. So let's get a little more into the root of this. We've answered, is this normal? Should I get help? Well, you know, is this harming your relationship, or is this harming your ability to feel good about yourself now that you know that it's normal? You know, if you are feeling an uncomfortable level of distress, then it can't hurt to have somebody help you out by any means. If this is something that is harming your relationship, it may not hurt to find someone who can help you, converse through it or find a good balance with fantasy or whatever the case may be. So I personally don't think you need to try to get rid of those thoughts, but I'm not the main woman in your life, so you want to have those conversations together, recognize what's healthy and normal, and find that right balance for you guys. I sent somewhere in this, it's not just questions about fantasy, but can I or should I try and go forward with this? Since you did mention that your wife is kind of accepting but hesitant, it's something the two of you are talking about. So here's what I really want to focus on, and this is really, it's kind of a hard thing to hear, so I want you to just open your ears and do your best, because I support you in your fantasy, so I'm not hating on you or anything like that. But to really, really remember that according to your description, right now this is your fantasy and not her fantasy. And part of your fantasy is her pleasure, but it's still your fantasy and not her fantasy. And so oftentimes people will say, oh, I have this fantasy of doing this amazing stuff, and in my fantasy my partner absolutely loves it, but they're really kind of hesitant. I wish they'd just try it because they'd really love it. No. In your fantasy, they really love it and they really want to try it. But if it's not their fantasy, it's not going to end up being that way because they have a different mind, a different life, a different enactment, all of those things. So it's noble and beautiful that your fantasy is about her pleasure. But until it's her fantasy to get her pleasure in the same way, the likelihood of that turning out that way is not real good. I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't bet money on it. So what I encourage people to do is when there's the potential for a shared fantasy, but there's hesitancy, right? Or a shared interest, but there's hesitancy, is to take it at the pace of the person who is most hesitant. That doesn't mean urging them to hurry up with their pace. It means gently, lovingly, patiently waiting, not on the condition that they eventually come to the place where they want to do it, but to see if it ends up being a good thing for both of you. So that means having great dirty talk that you both enjoy without any kind of obligation to carry through on it. And if it's something she continues to like and wants to bring up to you as she becomes more comfortable with it, she already knows that you like it, so you don't have to worry about her forgetting. Don't worry, she's not going to forget. You can let her take the lead and be confident that you are that gentle, caring partner that cares for her emotional and physical pleasure in real life as much as you do in fantasy life. And that is a wonderful partner to enjoy and discover new things with. I'm Dr. Ruthie. I hope that this helps for you, and I will see you in the next video. Keep having fun fantasies.